Florence, over to you and your question.
So my question is to Kakaza again. And I would like to know, as a leader, how do you stay mindful of who's at the table and who's missing?
Sure. So I think if it's like your table or a table that you're able to control, it's a lot easier. Because you're able to control it, you know. I think for me, the way you manage your team or the way you work with your team becomes so important that it's not always such a top-down approach, you know, and that your team knows that they can advise you, they can call you out if they need to, you know, because I think that that's where they come with their perspective. And if you're open to it, you know, if you're open to actually having honest conversations with people to say, hey, how well do you think we're doing here at this table that we have set out? What's missing, what's not? And if you're open to that, you find that actually people are able to speak to you and you're able to almost get a sense of your blind sides, you know. I think it becomes maybe more difficult when it's a table that you are being invited to as well. So it's not your table, you know, but I think it's still important for us to, keep in mind who's at that table with us, you know. And I think with that one, it's always just about always having clarity, you know, never getting sort of swept up into the moment, no matter how big or how high the table is, you know. Yes, I'm excited to be here, but do I have the self-awareness? Am I present enough to be able to say, yeah, I'm here, but what I'm not seeing is maybe ABC, you know, or other people who are like me who aren't here, you know. And I think as challenging as it is in those moments, I think it is important for us to speak to the organizers of such events or the owners of such tables to say, you know, thank you for the invitation. It was really great. Next time, I think it would be good to include these people, you know, or good to include this person. So I think for me, it's just about always like never losing sight, you know, of yourself and your surroundings, and always just staying present and being able to see through many things, and always just be mindful of who you have around you. Do you see, particularly being a Black woman in the tech space, do I see people who look like me in this space? And if not, how do I use whatever little power, whatever leverage I have to suggest that, hey, you know, there's actually a really amazing woman who does A, B, and C. Can we invite her next time, or you should look at inviting her next time? So I think for me, it's about that. But I think when it's a table you own, it's really important for you to be open to having suggestions and advice coming your way from your entire team, because you never know what they see that you can't see.
Yeah, that was an amazing answer. And just to build on that, I really relate to what you said. And it's about us being really conscious and deliberate about who's on the table and who's not on the table. And a case in point would be like our program. When bringing on people to the cohort, knowing that digital and tech, a lot of women shy away from it, making sure that consciously you say, hey, we want to try to do, you know, 50-50 or 60-40 in regards to bring the people we admit onto the cohort to encourage more women to be on board. So that's part of that. And so thank you so much for your response, Kakaza. I think I'm handing over to the next person that's also asked the question.
Sure, that's me actually. And that's, I think that's also great how when you run your program, you are mindful, you know, like of that 60-40 or 50-50 split, making sure that we have ladies. My question is actually more about your leadership style. So I remember just before I stepped into my position, I was in a meeting with both Xhakaza and Gavin, and they asked me the most, I don't want to say difficult, but that question really hit me on the wayside. And they said, what type of leader are you going to be? Or what type of manager are you going to be? You know, what type of management style do you think you're going to take up when you walk into this particular position? And I went and I did quite a lot of reading, you know, and I gravitated towards the empathetic management style, you know, just because of it played really strongly to my strengths. So my question to you is, what type of management style or leadership style do you actually, prefer? And do you think it's actually different to your male counterparts, or if there's any difference at all? Looking at the gents that you have been able to work with, and how they do their management style. Yeah, if you had to compare it to yourself.
The leadership style that I use with my team is the coaching style leadership, and where I basically focus on identifying and nurturing the individual strengths of the different members of my team. The strategy I use is that of, where if I identify what the different team members' skill sets, helping them to nurture those skill sets, and then in the end we have the common skill sets, but then we then have expertise across board. I would say that is very strategic, democratic, but also the nurturing. And I'm not sure whether that nurturing just also comes by virtue of being a female leader. And funny enough, most of my team members are actually male, but there's ownership, there's growth. I work towards building the team where every single person is encouraged to build on their skill sets, and then the weaknesses or the areas where they feel is not their skill set, we do things like peer with partners. So somebody else is really good at creating content. There will be times when I'm like, do your downtime, pair with that person and learn that part. And in the long run, especially people that have been with me like 4 years and all, you'll find out that they've actually been able to symbiotically work together, grow, and improve on even the strengths that were more like weaknesses. And communication is also really important in our team. And as a leader, I lead by example, making sure that there's transparency, there's trust within the team. So I'm more like a coach that coaches the team to victory.
Shoot, I love that, because actually we did have a little training session with Gavin where he spoke about the coaching, leadership style, and that is actually one of the best ways to get growth, from your team members. So yeah, I absolutely love that.
Ownership, accountability, those are key words in our team. Like everybody feels that the people that have been working with me for years, they feel like they're part of, we are a family basically. And that also trickles down to the even our alums. You know that this is a family that even in the thick and thin, in the downs, the lows, the highs, you're celebrated, you're supported and stuff. Yes.
I actually had the pleasure of seeing your leadership and management style face to face when I was in Lagos checking out one of the Digify Pro cohorts.
See, like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. I think for me, I left there being like, yo, there's some tough love there, definitely, because Florence is by the book. She's disciplined, but I also really love like the love that you have and the commitment that you have for each and every one of your team members and your participants, and to see that also shine back. For me, I loved that, and as I was taking some notes down, I was also just taking notes around the leadership style, and I think maybe following on from that, a lot of the work that we do at the center of it is creating opportunities for those who come after us. And I'm really interested in finding out why that is so important for both of you, where did that come from? What does that actually look like in your daily lives as well when you say that you are creating opportunities? Florence, I'm going to start with you. Why is it important? Where did that start in your life?
Yeah, it's really important. Nigeria is a patriarchal society where you won't believe it. Things like to even rent a house, a man has to sign the lease. So Nigeria is still, yeah. So a lot of things are, if you're born as a man, once you're a boy, you're born into the world, you already have an upper hand. So we have to consciously create the opportunities for women. We have to consciously, and of course, Nigeria also has like certain, so in the northern parts of Nigeria, it is more common. I'm not saying every single, but it's more common that once a girl finishes like high school or university, she's getting married and then she doesn't work because her husband can take care of her. So how do we make sure that we are those backward behaviors and characteristics that are in our culture, that we break them And it's by creating those opportunities, bringing women to know that they can do whatever they set their minds to also. And just like we said in the earlier question, that means that the people actually putting up initiatives and programs have to consciously say, hey, yeah, we're going to put certain numbers aside and try and encourage women to take those on. Because 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, they will then be the people that will be sitting on the table where we are, you know. So it's really important because of the kind of society that we are in. I mean, we're getting there, but it's still a male-dominated environment in Nigeria.
Sure. The fact that I need a man to get a lease on a house.
Man.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, thank you for the work that you do, though, in empowering then young women to be part of changing that, because that definitely needs to change.
Yeah.
Kinelwe, for you, why is it important to be at a company like Digify Africa that's about giving opportunities to those that come after us?
For me, it's definitely that whole representation matters storyline, right? Coming from the jobs where I come from, where it was, you know, kind of like male heavy-ish to a certain extent, walking into Digify and finding literally like 90% of everyone there is a woman was truly an amazing experience, you know, because now you feel that you can actually be and no one is going to judge you for being. Like if you want to randomly cry in the middle of a meeting, no one is going to ask you questions. But it's kind of like that whole representation matters, because I feel like, especially now when I traveled for the Digify GPs, you know, standing and actually speaking to our participants, and they're seeing a black woman who is a senior project manager really flips a switch. You know, it really flips a switch to say, hang on, man, there is actually more, you know, that I can actually particularly achieve. But even for the young guys as well, I mean, like, sure, we know that the space is full of men, but like seeing that here is a company that is majority black and is actually successful, you know, in South Africa, thinking of all the things that we have to go through, is quite an important thing, you know, like, so creating opportunities for those behind me is really, really important. And I think with the team that I lead, you know, and the way that I lead and the leadership style that I have taken, I am also kind of like showing them that you don't necessarily have to be this autocrat. You know, you don't have to be like this dictator to get your team to work with you. You know, there are different other ways to actually do it. So I'm definitely privileged enough to be able to actually show that. But yeah, major. And I don't know, I actually said this to our newest hire. She's an admin lady, who's a Hunze, and I was actually having a chat with her, and I was just like, I know you walked in here as our admin, but seek the opportunity, see where it is that you want to grow. Because in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, I don't want you to still be an admin person. So just like switching that flip to say, you're in this company, you're working hard, but we need you to move up so that you can free up space for those that are coming after you. You need to move. So see what you're good at and, you know, gun for it.
Absolutely. Like I'm not even going to add anything more to that, because I could not say it more. I love that note on representation matters, because I think even when I joined Digify Pro, that was the one thing that also was for me to say, can we put up execs and people who are running ad agencies who look just like the participants that we have, so that they can see themselves, you know, in that in the future. Love it.
When I first started off, definitely a lot more scared, a lot more anxiety, but I walked in saying I'm here to learn. And I kind of kept that same attitude, you know, now that I'm senior project manager, I'm still here to learn. Like, I do not know everything.
I love it. Here to learn is definitely the way to go.